Happiness through curiosity on the Ranveer Show. Has your life ever been in danger?
Yeah, a couple of times when you get lost in the Himalayas, it tends to be risky that you end up, you lose the trail, you get lost, you try to make your move forward, and then you end up with little fingertips hanging on rocks, coming down a vertical rock face, trying to get back onto a proper trail where you... So it has been a couple of occasions that actually you feel the heartbeat in your throat as you hang like 50 meters above an almost vertical cliff. So... yeah, and the weather can also be threatening. As you go higher to 4, 5, 6,000 meters, the weather becomes more volatile and more life-threatening sometimes in case it turns bad.
I want to hear about this story in detail. Tell me about both the stories.
Yeah.
Start with the first one.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done like around 10,000 kilometers now, I think, over the last couple of years since I quit the job across the Himalayas. I've done a lot of mapping work also.
10,000 kilometers on foot?
On foot, yeah. So, and this is like pretty rough terrain. It's not like walking along the Marine Drive in Mumbai. It's like over big rocks and moraines and scree and sinking in snow till your waist. So it's pretty intense. You burn a lot of calories.
I'm saying this as a compliment, but you're a bit of a psycho.
I could be a bit more of a survivor and taking it extreme. And all of that I do pretty minimalist. So I just carry some 4 or 5 kg on my back, very lightweight tent, like a bivy sack in which I sleep at night, small sleeping bag. I usually only carry a t-shirt and shorts. I just keep rinsing myself in the streams. So going lightweight is important because you have to go over a significant terrain, like very steep terrain, a lot of climbing. Like last big hike was in Uttarakhand, 4 months. I did some 2,000 kilometers, which is fine, but more than 2,000 kilometers. It's your vertical climb. I did some 1.2 lakhs vertical elevation gain, which is like 18 times the height of Mount Everest. So that you really feel in your quads and your calves. Something.
In a day, usually on an average, how far do you walk?
I try to kind of maximize my use of the day. So I wake up usually when the sunlight hits my tent, which means like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I usually walk for 12 hours till the sun sets. Then it becomes really cold. So by 6, 7 o'clock, I try to find a suitable campsite close to water, flat place where I can pitch up my tent. And so every day it's like for months altogether, 12 hours of steady walking, and it's not usually a trail. As an explorer, actually, you go through a lot of rough terrain, like scree, loose rocks, climbing on some vertical rocks to a mountain pass over long glaciers, so permanent ice sheets for kilometers and kilometers. Sometimes in the winter, you sink in the snow that everything is blanked out. You don't see the trails anymore. So then you need to be more experienced on navigation that you don't lose the way.
Yeah, I mean, usually I think, so there's a couple of things. Most people don't understand what even walking for 10 kilometers actually feels like.
Yeah.
I've done a 100-kilometer kind of race thing once.
Wonderful. Huh?
And my hips blew out, my knees were destroyed, and I was just 23 years old that time. And that's when I understood what 100 kilometers is as a distance as well.
Yep.
And we did it in 36 hours.
Yep.
Every 10 kilometers after the 50-kilometer mark felt easy. But before the 50-kilometer mark, every 10 kilometers was very, very long. And that's when I realized that even 10 kilometers is much longer than most people would think.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is why I ask you this question. In terms of roughly in kilometers, how much do you walk in 12 hours, roughly? I'm not trying to gauge your speed.
In a day, so it all depends on the terrain, Ranveer. Sometimes in Ladakh, where the terrain is open and gradual, you can actually do 40, 50 kilometers in a single day.
Wow.
You cannot run because high altitude, you have 50% of the oxygen compared to sea level. Plus you're carrying a shelter and a bag and food on your back. But sometimes it's just like 15 kilometers in a day because you're hanging on some rock face, you're scrambling through thorns and bushes. Bad weather is there, so it's like a snow blizzard in your face at high altitude. So it all depends on the terrain and the weather, actually, how much distance you can cover. But at the end of the day, it's all the same. Whether it's 15 or 50 kilometers, you would have burned some 7,000-8,000 calories in a single day.
How do you replenish 8,000 calories?
A lot of local organic homegrown food. Actually, the food you get served by locals, like the shepherds, they have these thick rotis. 2 of those thick rotis are enough. They also put a lot of ghee, a lot of fat, I guess, on the sabji that you eat. And then, yeah, if you get a cup of tea from freshly milked from the mountain goat who has been grazing these snow-fed alpine meadows, there is so much of nutrition in this natural food that it quickly replenishes you and that you feel again okay to proceed the next day.
How do all these experiences change your mind and your heart as you go forward in life?
Yeah, one thing that I've seen is 50% of me is about natural beauty that you encounter in the middle of nowhere. It's about meditation and peace. But 50% of it is also like the people you encounter. So these remote tribes, these nomadic tribes, Bakarwals, shepherds, people who live like in mud houses and no electricity, no road, no mobile internet. So they don't have any facilities there. People just live there with their buffaloes or sheep in the middle of a jungle. So if you spend time with these people, then you can actually appreciate like humanity more. So these people are very innocent, very helpful. They will give you warm hospitality. In many cases, I end up sometimes sleeping in their bed while they sleep on the floor next to me. So one thing I learned is that people who have very less materialistically, they have like a big heart. They are like so amazing. And it's nice to experience and see that humanity and much of it, which we have lost in the city, because in the city, it's all about a self-enrichment. We are running behind money all the time. We are stressed. People there really have like a pure soul and really help each other.
That's the raw format of being a human being.
Correct.
We're not living in the raw format anymore.
So I think there's too many distractions and too many different priorities here compared to the people living amongst themselves in nature, just surviving in very basic ways.
How do you communicate with them?
Yeah, so I'm not much of a language person. My main base was Chennai. Chennai is just English and Tamil, not even Hindi, as you know. So I'm not too much. So I know the basics for guidance, food, and shelter in Hindi.
You just say khana.
Khana, yeah, or have some pani or some chai or whatever.
Do you pay them?
No, actually, I don't think they would appreciate it. They actually don't use money over there also. So people don't have Google Pay or cash. Even the shepherds, when they go for a bag of rice to the village nearby, so they stay there up for sometimes 4 or 5 months with their herd grazing. So they need to eat rotis, tawa, atta, flour, and rice. So I think they also work more in an exchange way, like the olden days. So
barter system.
Yeah, they give maybe 1 sheep and then they get 5 bags of rice in return. Damn. So there's no money use over there. Yeah, these are the people that I meet. Actually, you can see some of the rough-looking tribals there. These are the typical people you find in Jammu and Kashmir. I've stayed with them. They're like they look a little rough, right? Because they live in the wild. They live in pretty harsh conditions sometimes. But they're really, people the size of their heart, you will not find anyone in the city here.
Can you pull up? So Bakarwal tribals are in Kashmir.
Yeah, you can see Kashmiri Bakarwals. I think a large percentage of the population in Kashmir are actually nomadic tribes. So these are the people indeed you meet. Like very, very nice people. They have very less. Kids will not go to school. Kids will just pick up the profession of that. And they go there with the whole family. They will have some horses carrying their blankets and cooking gears. The women will take care of the kids and the campsite. And then the men will go out grazing in the surrounding meadows, the buffaloes or the sheep or the whatever cattle they take along with them. I can tell you, spend one night with these people and it will change your life.
How?
Yeah, I mean, their simplicity, their innocence, their niceness, their humanity, their soul has not been disturbed in any way by the modern day things in the cities, I would say, like the materialism, the money, and yeah.
Do the kids think differently than the adults?
Yeah, so again, I don't master Hindi too well, so I'm not able to have a deep conversation with them. But they live very simple. I mean, kids, even sheep get born there. They get put on the horse and the family, and both the human family and the animals expand as they sometimes come from pretty far. Some of these people come from the plains and go all the way to the Himalayas over hundreds of kilometers with the whole family, imagine. Then they stay there the whole summer, and then when the winter snow comes in by this September, they come back to the plains.
Have you ever eaten mutton?
Yeah, I mean, mutton is there. Most of the people you meet there are actually vegetarians. So
Really?
yeah, so they will only, maybe you will only get mutton if one of the sheep dies. Some of the sheep really die because of extreme weather. And also some of the mountain passes they have to cross on the way to those meadows, those alpine meadows, are like very treacherous. So I met a shepherd once, he had 700 sheep. In one season, usually around 50 sheep die because of extreme weather. Very steep and rocky terrain, so rocks fall down. Sheep gets washed away in streams, wild streams. Predators, like I was saying, nocturnal predators like leopards will pick up a small goatee from the herd. So imagine like 10% kind of does not make it back alive at the end of the summer.
But these guys are mainly vegetarian?
I think so. Most of the people, okay, yeah, these are the family that I stayed with last year somewhere in Jammu. Very nice
Wow.
people. I mean, it's like amazing. You can see all smiling faces, right?
Zoom in on the faces?
Very less, but the smiles you see there
Wow, look at that
is
kid.
much more than the spoiled little kids in the city here, which have the Sony PlayStations and YouTube. These kids just have actually nothing. They have an old dress. It'll all be stained there because they cannot wash their clothes also. And they're very happy. I think it has to do with the fact that they are still like strongly connected with their natural surroundings and that they have not been diverted in the modern day distractions, I guess.
The younger kid is so happy that you're taking his photo.
Yeah, I guess so.
Older kid is a little suspicious.
Yeah, that white guy. What is he doing here? Yeah, we are in Jammu and Kashmir, so they have a bit of a political history.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip from the Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel because there's something for everyone.